I'm Device from Astralis, and welcome to Thorin's YouTube channel. It's a joke-free zone.
Right, I'm here for another episode of Reflections, and my guest for this one is going to be s1mple, a pretty well-known CSGO player. Obviously was multiple times voted by HLTV #1 player of the year. Some people call him the GOAT. Maybe we'll get into that in this interview. So s1mple, the first place I want to start this interview just goes like this. If people talk about s1mple, they often, because if you know in sports, people use like archetypes, like certain ideas of like this person is like this or a type of a person. They say you are a prodigy, that you're someone who was just like, they make it sound like you were born, you played CS and you were just shooting everyone in the head the first time you were playing. Are you a prodigy at Counter-Strike? Did it come easily to you?
No, I don't think it came easily to me because there was a lot of problems that I should have fixed before I actually start to win some decent tournaments, and especially some decent tournaments in a row. And I feel like the whole organization, basically from 2016, had so many nice people that teach me.
Okay. By the way, that is an aspect in this interview we'll get into with s1mple, like some of the controversial things about what's his personality being like. Also, maybe in the interview, it's possible you might see some subtitles appear if he wants to answer something a bit more in depth or complicated. So let's just start out with some of the things people might know about your career. So in the early days, obviously, one of the first places you popped up is you actually were at one of the early majors. You got to play at Dreamhack Winter 2014 with HellRaisers. And I always tell this story. You were in the group with Fnatic, who was the #1 team, and you played them on Mirage. And if people don't know, Mirage was one of their absolute best maps. They were really good on this map. You popped off, you won the map. People know that you lost in this quarterfinals here, but like this is like a great sort of debut for the world to see. You know, everyone's watching the majors. Do you remember this match? Was it an insane moment?
Yeah, of course, because first of all, I couldn't play any ESL tournaments until the end of 2015 or the start of 2016. Right before the Liquid signed me, and that basically was my one and only major. And I even remember the qualifiers that we played before those majors. And I even remember the salary. I remember when we won those qualifiers.
Come on, what was it?
HellRaisers raised my salary for $200 or $300, and it became like $800. You know.
Okay.
So
that's still pretty good though for Ukraine, though. That's pretty cool, though. It's still pretty good. Yeah, 800 a month.
Yes,
pretty good.
Yes. Back in the days, of course. And I remember how we asked Blade to be a coach for this specific tournament. I remember.
Oh, yes.
There was a bootcamp as well before this tournament in Stockholm, I think, in this computer club. I don't remember.
Inferno Online?
Yes, Inferno Online. There was iBuyPower, and everyone was traveling from this Stockholm to Jönköping on the same bus, and it was pretty nice experience. And I remember all people were saying that flusha is cheater and
of course, yes.
And I remember so many discussions in this bus.
Yes, I mean, by the way, look, we don't have to, you can tell me how much you want to answer about it, but obviously if people go, but wait a minute, why couldn't you play at the majors? So as far as I know, s1mple, basically, when you were a kid in 1.6, a different game, supposedly you cheated in the game, whatever, downloaded hacks or something, played in the game. You got banned by ESL. And if people don't know, ESL is different than Valve. It wasn't VAC that banned you. And ESL's situation back then was they give you like a set period of time, I think it's 2 years, like you say. And what happens is if you avoid it, they call it evading. If you play again on a different account, basically, they find out it's you. They just give you a longer punishment. They say, right, it goes longer. So it made it go into the first years of CSGO. And so if people don't know, it's not just that you were on flip side. Or you couldn't have played at Katowice and Cologne, right?
Yeah, I couldn't play any ESL tournament. So basically, I still don't understand. People still don't believe because I saw so many topics how they try to investigate, and there were so many topics on Reddit. But basically, the truth is that I was trying to not play CS anymore, 1.6. I just invite my friend. I download OpenGL, the normal cheat, and I had this ESL anti-cheat, the one that I get banned for.
Yes.
ESL Wire, and there was my anti-cheat. It was Mayak back in the days in 1.6, and I got banned instantly in few rounds. All what I saw is some small models through the wall, and I get insta-ban. And when I started to play CSGO, I forgot about this, and I was playing the qualifiers, the ones that I did highlight with P2K.
Yes.
And it's the Blade, the one who invited me, and it's actually the Blade, the one who always tried to keep me in team, even if he knew that I had ESL ban. He knew that I can still play other tournaments.
Right.
And instead of me I think at some point there was Davkos who played.
Yes, he was the stand-in. Yes.
Yes, and I think
And I think Chara or someone was playing on one of them. There was some other players studying, yes.
Sarah. And but still people don't believe that it was 1.6.
By the way, what's funny is I actually did investigate this, because we were beefing. So you know what? If you know a journalist, I had a dossier on you, mate. I have everything. So I investigated this topic. You're probably lucky you're doing this interview. I investigated the topic. And actually, as you say, what really made me laugh is when I went back and like that P2000 clip you're talking about on Dust 2, what's hilarious is, because it's really good, all the comments are like, he's obviously cheating. There's no way like an unknown player could. Because I have to think that angle, like the joke is everyone who's famous who gets good at the game anyway gets accused of cheating. But if you already had this history, I'm sure people didn't believe you were actually that good initially, right? They thought you probably cheating again.
Yeah, and I was so happy after this highlight. And next day I just wake up, I see they extended my ban because I create
Right.
multi-account. And that was bad.
So one thing I want to talk about is actually, you mentioned Blade. I want to talk about flip side. So here's what's weird, right? Is people from the outside, your problem is because you don't interact with the English language community, there are a lot of stories and legends about what went on in your teams, and maybe they're wrong. Maybe they're like campfire stories. Maybe some of them are true. So one of them is that you disrespected Blade, that you had a battle with him. Like I heard this story, I think it was Launders told it on his stream, that like ESWC, the last one you ever played with Flipside, you know the story, where Blade lost some ridiculous round where essentially like the joke is, like he could have just like, he just kept trying to pick up different guns. He didn't defuse the bomb or something silly, right? It was just like, like everyone can make what you call a brain fart in English, like an amateur mistake. It happens in pro games, right? But I heard in this scenario, you just basically like you lost the game, you like disconnected or something, and you remove him from Steam friends. You just like told him to go fuck off or something. Is this true?
I wrote 3 dots in chat right after this round. And after the game finished, I said that I would never play with Blade and Markelov once again. And I went to a hotel, I did a post in some social media, and I was trying to talk with team, should we remove or should Blade become coach? And some of teammates, they agree with me. And right after, when we had the full conversation between Flipside top management, like there was Dana and there was Gektor,
yes,
and the whole team, they said that they're not gonna remove, and I'm like, how? Because we just discussed that we need to go this way to become better, and and after that I wrote this post and left.
I feel like, though, this actually brings us into a bigger topic, because obviously your career has been very long. I'm not going to go like day by day. We're going to talk about bigger topics and tie them together. So I thought an obvious thing that leads into, though, is, dude, me and you have had a very similar experience in life and esports. Like, I used to be the person where I thought it was like robots. Like, you just get the best player and you put him with the best player, the best aimers, and then you just let them win the game. Like, what I couldn't have understood back then, I would be like you. If I saw Blade, listen, if people don't know, in CSGO, he was a very skilled player. I mean, I know him from 1.6 units for years back, but in CSGO, he was one of those people who never really took to the game. He wasn't so skilled. So if I was looking at him, I'd be like, he's too bad. Like you say, make him the coach, like get someone else who can play. But that's because I undervalued things like, what does the tactician do? And especially things like social aspects. What does it mean to be a leader and a captain? And it sounds like back then, maybe you were a little bit more extreme like that, right? You were just about who has the most skills?
Yes. I'm just was the one who can do the most damage on server. But at the same time, I understood that what Blade was trying to teach me, how to understand the game from different perspectives, how to read opponents. And I'm pretty sure not all of our ex-teammates from Flipside understood this and practice the same way how I practice.
Sure.
Because I like to play a lot, and I knew that if you play a lot, if you go through different situations, even in packs, you will get this experience for LAN events and for professional games.
What you're talking about now is actually something that I feel like people ignored until they started to like you and you became a fan favorite, which is you've always been a very hard worker. And it's not just grinding. Like you just described there, you would actually do what by the way, this is what top professional sportsmen do. You're supposed to try and play in the practice as if it was the major final, like a real match. You're not supposed to mess around. Like, you know this, dude, to this day, I'll guarantee if you go into a scrim, there'll be some like player who's a hot shot. And in the scrim, he's doing all the craziest moves ever. Put him in the real game and he'll never do any of those moves. He'll just be scared and conservative. You were always this is part of the reason you were getting mad at people, right? You were frustrated that people didn't properly practice as well. Like, this is our job, we're trying to get better, right?
Yes, yes, of course. And when we were losing, and especially there was FPL back in the days, the most interesting for me. When I just came and I'm like, oh, there's Forest, there's Get Right, all of those pro players, and Fnatic, the one I remember how JW was behaving cocky and other players as well. But yeah, I just never understood why they cannot finish a round, why they cannot say them few words just to have a crossfire and just finish the easiest round. And that's what I was always trying to say on streams. Maybe the way how I said it before, maybe even now, it's a bit weird for some people, but I don't know. If I will speak on my language, like Ukrainian or Russian, it would sound a bit differently. Maybe
Sure.
it's because of yeah, different culture. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, along these lines, by the way, here's another thing I feel like you've developed as a human with. In the modern day, you're the one sometimes on Twitter trying to call people out if you think they're disrespectful. Back then, the problem you were having was like when you say there, JW's being cocky, I would just say like, yeah, but simply he's like won the major at this point in time. Like he's already done everything. I'd say, who are you to him? Like you might think you were more skilled than him. Maybe you were. But you know, there's another thing in the game. You have to respect the people who came before you and what they've accomplished, right? Something else I feel like you've learned over the years, right?
Yeah, yeah, I remember his words when what did I won and all
It's a pretty
teams
good line.
kicking me,
It is a pretty good
and
line.
yeah, and all teams kicking me, and I would never win anything. And
Yes.
it's actually what I remember from him that boost my motivation a bit.
I've got a few questions, just stories people heard I want to confirm or deny, right? I heard a story that when you were in Flipside, that sometimes, here's the thing again, because I've known a lot of people. I was a very intense person, quite extreme person myself when I was young. I didn't have that big social awareness, you know. It took me a long time. I'm older than you. It took me many more years than you, but it took me decades. But maybe I'm getting there, you know, I'm gradually getting there. One of the things I had to learn was, you have to sort of know that other people learn in a different way and they're definitely not always capable of what you're capable of if you're really good at something. So I've heard a story which sounds really bad, dude. Like if this was a video hating on s1mple, this will make everyone hate you if I tell them this story. But I get the feeling there's an explanation that makes sense about frustration here. So I've heard a story that sometimes when you're playing scrims and someone would do something, a classic example is obviously B site on Mirage. Everyone knows in CT, that's the nightmare fucking place to play because you always just get wrecked by like 5 guys. I would heard if like a player was on your team and he was playing that site and he did a bad job, you'd be like, obviously you'd say it in Russian, but I'm going to do the fucked up accent, like, that is not how you, let me play that. Then you would go to that spot for that next round, kill everyone, and then you'd be like, that is how you play that spot. Then you'd go back. Now, the reason that's a hilarious story is because, like, you might think you're teaching him there, but all he's learning is like, but I'm not s1mple. Like, I can't do that. You get the point? Because I feel like this is a bigger topic. Isn't part of your problem in your career that you wanted your teammates to come to your level? You thought they could. I mean, the problem is though, mate, like Shara and Bond, it can't be s1mple, you know?
Yeah, that was there was a manager in our team, Eugen, if you remember.
Yeah, Belarusian
He
guy,
was
right?
always saying me, yeah, from Belarus, yeah. He was always saying to me that all the time they cannot play like you. And I'm always answering him, no, they can at least try, they can play better.
Okay.
But, and he would know they would never play like
Sure.
you. And that's the hardest thing to accept,
Yes.
you know, because at some point in Navi in 2021, the way how I discussed mistakes, everyone was on same level and nobody get tilted and everyone was trying to instantly fix those mistakes.
Right.
And I see how they becoming better. I see the new highlights on server, and I start to believe more in the team, and it gives me more confidence. Basically, before I was trying to, as you say, rotate to the side as fast as I can, so I could actually help some players to avoid stupid death. But at some point, with Navi that we won everything, I was just trusting to my teammates, and I was just staying on my positions, knowing that everything will be good on their sides.
By the way, if people collect all these stories together, so if people don't know, once you were kicked out of Flipside after this battle, they even came out. And by the way, dude, I know Markelov. He's a pretty chill guy. He was doing an interview like, yeah, actually, we're glad he's gone. And basically, we're a better team without him. And also that thing with FPL where Taz and JW were sort of saying like, yeah, you know, this kid he'll never learn. He'll never be. Here's the thing. Even if you think like, fuck him, that does hurt your feelings when legendary players, like, dude, Markelov's like the legend in Ukrainian CS. Like, that's got to be a suck when someone calls you out like that.
Yeah, but we are finishing like Star Ladder. I remember we were playing Star Ladder, and right after a game, I knew or I saw that he's just going with friends and drinking beer in bar,
Yeah.
right before the game. And I never understood because I remember Fnatic players, like three of them, Dennis, Olaf, and JW, they were always playing together in FACEIT right
Right.
after games or right before they go sleep, and not only them, like other players as well, like from other teams. And I was sad that I'm not playing with anyone because nobody wanted to play this face it. Nobody understood that they need to spend a bit more time if they want to have more chances against Navi or other top teams back in the days.
One thing I think we should bring up really early on while we're still talking about flip side is I think a lot of fans don't know this dude, right? There's a famous way as an analyst, I always described it, which is that, here's the thing. If someone asked me who is the best at getting kills with the AWP, it's simple. But if you ask me who the best AWPer is, it's Device or Kenny S or Guardian, because they're playing the role of AWPer. They're long range. If people don't know, in flip side, s1mple had a rifle like probably half the time, maybe 70% of the time, right? Like, I mean, obviously World Edit was the AWPer sometimes. Like, you weren't actually always an AWPer, right? You were a rifle player at times.
Yeah. I was always a rifle, and I just understood from young age that AWP not always useful in game. Right now it's even worse. The AWP even worse in game for flexible and for trying to help your teammate, because you have one shot, you miss, you need to change position and you're just losing all timings. So that's why when I start to play CS, I choose to play rifle. But I never thought to become AWPer.
No. What about then? Tell me this story, because actually that Blade anecdote we told earlier, the sad part about that anecdote, and it sort of ruined your time in Flipside, is that story of that tournament's awesome though, because that's the one where you got Hiko to come in. I mean, that's crazy in itself, dude. An American player who speaks zero Russian or Ukrainian joins a Ukrainian team, also with Blade as his in-game leader. If people don't know, Blade is the guy like it's like now, like turn to page 17, like I've got 58 strats for T-side of this map and you're all going to go. So I always thought, like, how is this going to work? And I was friends with Hiko at the time. And it was awesome. If people don't know, you guys beat NIP in a best of three at like ESWC on LAN when it was still good. Like, this must have been a crazy story. Give me some stories about this tournament.
So yeah, basically Vortody didn't get visa and we were trying to understand who we can invite. I mean, and Blade just choose Hiko, Spencer. And just every day before a game day, like at 7, at 8 p.m., they were sitting in lobby and Blade was just trying to explain everything. He was trying to translate everything to him right before a game on his laptop. And I think Hiko was motivated to play. And I feel like we played against his former team, Cloud9. I don't remember if we won or lost. It was on Cobblestone. But he was so motivated to beat them as well.
It's flip side.
Yeah, they beat us 6-10. Yes, it was. Oh, it was even cash, not Cobble. What the hell?
There we go. Whatever. That's not important. Anyway, go back to the answer.
So yeah, I mean, just the way how he communicate. I mean, of course, my English was not that good, but we had so much fun with him all the time. And of course, it was different to us. He was American, right? And it was always, I had so many questions for him about their culture, And I saw a lot of motivation in his eyes, and I don't know how, but I enjoyed to play him the most. And I think he did a huge part to beat NAP and go semis and tried our best against Navi.
Let me tell you a little story, because you might not be aware of this, s1mple. I was actually, Hiko was one of my better friends among the CS pro players, someone I talked to quite a lot, and would ask me about his career and tell me what's going on and why he's joining this team or leaving. And if people don't know, even though Cloud9 a very good organization, like it's like Navi, it's like American Navi. If you're in Cloud9, you should probably just stay there your whole career, it'd be awesome. The reason he left this team, if people don't know, even though, by the way, before the major they played at, like they were actually a good team in scrims and everything, he left because he wanted to win the major, dude, and he thought they couldn't do it. And his vision was, I need to find players, this is similar to you, I need to find players who aren't just there because like it's cool to play CS, or I'm pretty good. It's like he wanted people who just want to win. They want to win no matter what. And so here's a little story. me and Hiko were the ones in an actual conversation who said, let's get s1mple. Because we sat down and we were like, right, they need another player because he joined Team Liquid, right? And at the time, Team Liquid wasn't very good. And we were like, right, we need to get a player, but like, who is there? Like, you can't get anyone from NA because they're in Cloud9 or CLG or whatever. And we were like, right, what about like European players? And you know how it was back then. No like Swedish player or Danish player back then would move to America. I mean, he gets to live in his home country and they're better at CS. So at the time, there was almost no one. So we basically made a short list of like super talents. One of them was like Oscar, another guy where it's like he's a bit weird and so, yeah, but he has the skill. And the reason we actually said he should go for s1mple is because this will make you laugh. I actually said, if you think about it logically, because he's supposed to be toxic and no one wants to play with him, he's probably the only guy that'll say yes, who's also really good. And then basically, and then a second detail, this is another part of the story, is Hiko even was like, yeah, but the problem is if he's toxic though, it's going to cause problems. And I was like, yeah, but that's good though, because then anyone in Team Liquid who can't take that and doesn't want to win, like you say, they'll have to quit the team, won't they? You'll basically burn out the deadwood. Like, what do you think? What was the story on your end? Like, when you heard this offer, what was it like? How did it come to you? You just one day get an offer, like come to Team Liquid and live in America?
So yeah, so I was basically studying in university. I was studying Chinese language to become a Chinese translator.
Okay.
So I did like 5 months, and after I just talked to my family that I want to move and play because I know that my ESL ban gonna expire. I gonna sign a contract like for few years. So basically I'm saved because I will get salary, and even something will be wrong, I'll get half of salary when I go back to Ukraine. And my mom was always like, no, but you need to finish the university. She was always saying this, even right now, you know, because I don't know, it's because I feel like the stereotypes of our
past generation, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, the generation, they think that even if something will be wrong,
you have to have something to fall back on.
Yes, you need this to get some work.
By the way, she's right. Yeah. Tell your mum she was right. You should have an insurance policy. You're going to have something if it doesn't work out. It's video games.
Yes. And so yeah, basically I moved. It was a bit weird because there was a different time zone between all players, and my practice started at like 2 or 3.
Right.
And the way how NA teams play, they played like 3 hours. 3 scrims, 2 or 3 scrims, like 1 hour discussion, 2, 3 scrims. And after I finish at 7 or 8 and I start streaming until 5 a.m. I was playing CS, there was different things. And after 5 p.m. I was crossing from my balcony because I was living on first floor, and I was walking to Starbucks to get some food, breakfast, and I went back and sleep. And I never actually walked or drive to see some places in LA. All what I was trying to do is talking with Steve.
Joker Steve, the manager.
Joker Steve, yes, because he was showing me how should I behave. The first what they did, I was coming some people back in the days, they did like A4 papers with all comments and all people who I scammed. And they were trying to fix it to get better reputation, not only for me, but organization as well, because there was so many questions. And of course, he was teaching me English as well, some slangs. And basically only with him, I was driving in car around LA. And I was playing really a lot. That's why I never go to this Hollywood side, never been to this... the Star Alley, or how you call this?
Oh, the Hollywood Boulevard or whatever. The movie stars, yeah.
Yeah, so basically we're just playing, and I feel it's a huge part for me of my success.
By the way, I'll tell you another little story. Here's also, by the way, why don't ever fuck with someone like me who's at the level of journalism I'm at, mate. I know things you don't know. Like, for example, if I comment and say s1mple was toxic in scrims and in theory sessions, you're going to go, how do you know that? Oh, I've heard the recordings. Yeah, I've heard it. So here's the thing. When I heard these recordings, I've told people, like, look, this was obviously extreme because there's a big cultural difference here. You're like a kid, second language English, coming to America. If people don't know, it's not even just Americans in general. Team Liquid specifically was a really, we call it in English, like conflict averse. They don't like to argue about stuff. You know, people like Leisure, they just chill. Even if they don't like something, they're not going to say it immediately. They're not going to say, hey, fuck you, like, I don't like the way you do that. So when I heard you in these sessions, though, dude, like, they couldn't handle you. You were too intense for them. Like, to them, they thought you were attacking them all the time. They thought you were just berating them all the time. I can see that you were trying to make them better or get everyone to be good, but to them, they just thought you were raging. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, at the end, and me and Alish, we won so many tournaments, and I feel it just was a part of our story. But Alish changed as well. I remember when he was just quiet, when he was tilting, he was just quiet. He would never say anything, and I felt like he changed like a lot. Not because I left, but just because, I don't know, his personality, it grew up. But I don't think... there are so many interviews, and there was, we need to choose between Elish and s1mple.
Yep.
I never heard about that, you know. And I remember when we played the Cologne, when I had 2 tournaments as stand-in. The first one in CS in London, where we failed, and we went back to Utrecht on bootcamp, and we were practicing hard, and we got to final, we lost, and Hiko came to me and asked, even if you're gonna give you $1 million, you wouldn't play.
Stay in Team Liquid,
no, of course, because I want to live in my home. I want to live in Kyiv. But in some other interviews, there's like, we decide between Elish and s1mple. No, nobody decide between me or him. I left the first time Liquid. It was we lost MLG Columbus after we went to Dreamhack in Malmo.
Yep.
And I just got tickets, and back in the home, I just wrote a message from my phone that I cannot play because I want to live here. And yes, that's not how you say goodbye to your team. And the second time they asked me, I think it was a joke by Hiko, you know, for 1 million to stay, but I just didn't want to live in NA back in the days.
I have a question about those 2 majors, though. So first of all, this is the one everyone forgets about. Here's what's weird about how fans think about matches, s1mple. Because Luminosity won that major, and then they were obviously an amazing team that was really dominant, people think like, oh, well, they were always going to beat Team Liquid. That was map 1 on map point that Kostyljev did the bullshit move. By the way, I've interviewed all those players from Brazil. They all say, like, even Kostyljev like, I don't know what the fuck I was doing there. Like, I didn't even expect that to happen. Like, basically, if that round is won, then you win map 1. And then it's 1-0. And then now maybe it's 3 maps or maybe it's 2-0. People forget the second map where you were dominating 2 on CT side. So the question I have is this. Basically, if you can win that match, I mean, it was right there. You were this far away. At the time, people know in the final, Guardian had a problem with his wrist. Na'Vi wasn't even the true Na'Vi. Like, they weren't at peak level. Basically, Team Liquid could have won this major right out the gate, right?
Basically, yeah, but not everyone knows that not all players think that he actually had this wrist issue.
You think it was an excuse?
Played with him, yeah. And I know that they were so strong right before the final against Luminosity. So they basically were sitting on sofa in hotel in front of this fireplace, and they were so confident that they would win. And after they lost the first map in final,
that's why they were tilted.
They just lost to themselves, yes, and they got crashed like 16-2 or 3 on overpass on second map. I personally think that Na'Vi, of course, had much better chances to win final, and
yes.
I think they would get more confidence, and maybe they would win it back in the days, and we would give to this organization the first major.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like I don't even know how we had 2 match points on 2 different maps and had chance, because we didn't have a lot of practice with Adrian. We actually wanted
you stand in, yeah.
Other player, yeah, and we couldn't get anyone.
Yep.
And I remember I was playing on T with OP, and on CT I was playing secondary OP. And actually that was insanely good, because on CT I could play with Hiko on same bomb side.
Right.
So I could rotate, and anytime when we have problems I could take this OP. So yeah, I feel like it's just a fate. That's how it should be, you know. I mean, we lost to better team, obviously.
No, that's all good.
And I actually lost twice to SK Luminosity, so yes. I give them majors.
By the way, in the next major, the ESL Cologne one, the other thing I don't think people realise is, if someone's a hater, they just skip to the final and go, look at the final, it sucked, and they were all scared. They forget that, like, Team Liquid isn't even supposed to be in the final. Like, if we think about the playoffs, the quarterfinals was against Na'Vi. Dude, every analyst picked Na'Vi to win this game. It was even very close if people don't know. It must have been a big deal to s1mple to beat Na'Vi, because I can tell you another little story. Behind the scenes, you think I didn't ever go to all my mates in Na'Vi, Starix, fucking, and tell them all, like, dude, why don't you get this s1mple guy? Like, wouldn't you win the major? And they were all like, we don't need him. We'll beat him if we ever play him. And this game, I for real think changed their mind.
I felt like when second time after Cologne, I mean, I felt that I'll be in Na'Vi. Not
right.
I didn't expect that they will remove Zeus, you know.
Sure.
I thought I would play instead of other player, but yeah, it was a really important game for me, and against Fnatic as well. And emotions that we had, it was amazing in Cologne in front of all of these people. It was like something that I have joy about, you know, because it's the first time when I was actually shocked how CS can be so bigger and bigger. So yeah, it just there was decent games, but I felt like against Fnatic it was much harder than against Na'Vi in Cologne.
You can look it up if you want.
Yeah, I just want to see the scores.
I think it was actually closer against Na'Vi, but it's all good.
Oh, we actually picked Nuke against them. Oh my.
Yeah.
We beat them 16-12. They beat us on first map train 16-11. And yeah, we ran over on T side. I remember I was going to this B platform and everything was so perfect.
Right. What about the Fnatic game, though? I've got a couple of questions about that, though. One is this. If anyone ever watches that match, the moment you do the 1v2 that became the highlight in the graffiti, dude, this is like a movie. It's actually the moment in the match where they're about to like win that round and then take control of the game, and then they're going to take over a win. Like, and I can tell you, dude, if you know the Fnatic players, they're like amazing at winning games and closing games. I'm pretty sure they thought this game was over. And then that round, this is the other part of the question though. That round is just like, I mean, I'll just say it's like the cold zero jumping option. It's bullshit. Like you can't aim that second no scope. But first of all, you can't aim the first one. You're in midair, and then the second one's like you just fire. If anyone's ever put developer mode on, the box is this big and the guy's this tiny here, like that, it's kind of lock, right?
Yeah. I mean, but still I felt like it's my shot, you know. First of all, I thought he would immediately trade me, and I don't know why he didn't trade me, because they were dropping from vents together.
Yes.
But still, yeah, it was amazing. Just I am a bit sad that it wasn't live on stream, you know. Right after I heard they showed replay and everyone was like, what?
Yes.
And Fnatic did tilt rush on B and me and Hiko just grave them.
Also, the other thing I wanted to ask was, I've done videos on this in the past, right? This sounds like a conspiracy theory, but I think it's true. I've actually seen you on your stream practice jumping no-scopes. You would literally stand behind a box and jump. And even though everyone said, because no-scope in theory is random anyway, they were like, oh, jumping no-scope, don't even try it. It's just totally random. But like you said, there is something about like if you do it at the top of the jump or something and you stood perfectly, there's something that actually does make it a tiny bit more accurate, right?
Yeah, you're just feeling better timing, you know. Of course, it's randomly, but I feel like you're increasing your chances if you practice in insane shots. It's like Steph Curry practicing shots from his court, you know?
Yes.
Something like this. And
yes.
Yeah.
All right, what about this? I have to ask this question, so let's just ask it now. When you did play in that first major final, I mean, I think everyone in Team Liquid was fucking scared in that game, but like, you had a really bad game. And what did they get in your head against SK?
No, I don't think. Not really. I felt like they're just on head above us because they won the first major. They were together for much more days, and we played. I mean, I played as a stand-in, and we had like 1 or 1.5 months to prepare. But yeah, the game against them in MLG Columbus. After that, I was so like, I was like crying outside of the stadium because I was shocked how we didn't close it. I remember all rounds when they were doing a comeback, and I remember mistakes when I could just play more safe, and we just got this on Cash, for example. Not on Mirage, because on Mirage after this highlight they had some boost, but on Cash we still had a chance. We had 15-6, and they did a comeback, and after Taco both Scar and finished us on A side.
When you came to Na'Vi, there's like a bit of context I feel people always miss when they talk about this. Because what happened is, on paper, this looks like an amazing team. It's all like, if people don't know, back then, Seized was actually a very good supportive element. Edward was really good at majors. Every player in this team is really good, right? As you say, they kicked out Zeus. People never tell the story fair, simple. At the time, Zeus wasn't the in-game leader. This is when the coach was allowed to talk all the time, and Starix was the in-game leader, if people don't know. So when they recruited s1mple, it sounded perfect. It's like, right, Zeus essentially, because he's not the in-game leader, which is his strength, we can just replace him with s1mple, be even more powerful, and we'll have all the same strats. And then Valve did the coaching change immediately, right? It was like days later or something. They changed it so that now the coach, like now, can only talk in timeout. So essentially, Seized had to become in-game leader, which wasn't his role. And that's part, right, of why the team was a bit fucked up, right?
Yeah, but he likes to say that there was no more options who will become IGL, but I feel like he wanted to be him, you know?
Right.
Because he was one with flamie to remove Zeus, and he felt like someone need to become him. And Starix became useless, to be honest. He never worked the same way how Blade worked, or
right.
any other coach, like Peacemaker worked, and he was just chilling, to be honest. And that was a bit hard.
Because I also feel like what made this era of Na'Vi look bad is, even though you failed that first Star Ladder, the second event was the ESL New York one, where you won the event. But if anyone ever goes and watches that event, if you look at s1mple stats and even Guardian stats, like, in fact, everyone's stats, like, that wasn't like you actually weren't the best team. Everyone just fragged out of that one tournament, right?
Yes. I mean, yeah. Wait, there was FaCe Clan, I think, and they lost. I think they lost to VP. Against VP, that was the hardest match. Oh, VP won SK.
There you go. An epic game.
Yeah, like I wanted to play SK like so much,
right,
because of majors, and I was so surprised how VP beat them. At some point, I never understood how VP is winning so many teams and tournaments, because their individual skill wasn't on high level, but their team play and the synergy was something different. They were so nice guys back in the days.
By the way, a famous thing, an image, you know, after in every post-game like win of a championship, I always say it's not just a photo. There's always, people have like a snapshot of a thing they always remember. I will always remember about this tournament. Guardian, who if people don't know, it's normally a pretty stoic guy. He's not the guy like really. He was crying his eyes out because he never won a 250k tournament before. Was it meaningful to win a tournament for him? It was one of your first big tournament wins too.
Yeah, it meant a lot for him and for all of them. Even Edward was crying a bit, like there was tears in his eyes, and I was so surprised because it's just our second event. What do you expect? Like I expected to win some because I always wanted to play Na'Vi, and yeah, it wasn't actually that hard tournament for us. It was few hard games, like only against SK in group stage on Mirage, and as I said, I was expected to play against them again in final, so I was preparing for them. But yeah, everyone was so proud because they always got second places. Back in the days, Na'Vi was cursed with second places, and definitely I feel it's the same with ENCE right now. Maybe not right now because Snipey another team and maybe some other players will.
There's some of those, yeah.
Yeah. But I felt like if they win the last tournament where they got second place in CS2, I guess, yeah, they would cry as well because it's like long road where you need to cross this one step, and when you're doing this, you're feeling the joy.
When you were in this team, and Guardian's still in the team as well, right? There's two questions. So the first one is, a famous detail to go back to before is s1mple was the rifle in this team. Guardian was the AWPer because Guardian's like, well, if you made a Mount Rushmore of AWPers, he's probably still on the Mount Rushmore. He was insane. But the problem I have with this topic is, like I say, s1mple in theory, actually probably the best way getting the kills with it though. If you want to get 30 kills in a game, what was the dynamic here? Because the perception was Guardian has to have the AWP, he's Guardian, and everyone's telling you have to give it to him. But was there an issue in them giving that up and you playing the rifle? Because people know the results weren't very good with this team.
Just when I came to the team, like I was always watching Guardian demos, and I always knew how he can destroy, and I never had like any doubts. Should he or me be AWPer? And of course, back in the days I was rifle. Uh, I like to say that I would give op to the player who I think can become better as AWPer than me, and I'll get more confidence. I'll be chill, and I can easily use rifle. And yeah, that was what Guardian was doing. Yeah, he was playing really insane, but something changed. Something changed. Some behavior in team, some lies, and he lost confidence. And I remember even when we were playing, it was. I feel it was. I don't remember the right tournament, but I remember when he is like, Sasha, maybe you take it. Maybe you won, because he was missing shots. And I was like, and after those words, I understood. And it was in elimination game on some tournament. I was like, something is wrong, because losing confidence is always a huge problem, not only for player, but for whole team. Back in the days, I was behaving bad as well, and atmosphere wasn't that good in 2016.
Well, this is something I want to ask about, because another thing I actually know, I know Guardian. I've even done a reflections with him and asked him this. There was tension, friction between s1mple and Guardian. It's why, if people don't know, dude, even when you were both in the team, he would do interviews where he'd sort of mention that you had like a bad attitude and weird comments like this. And then obviously the results weren't good. So people think if star players play together, the results aren't good. Maybe they don't get along. I don't know from your end, but I can tell you from his end, he did think you had a bad attitude, or you were too egotistical or something. Like, was from your side, was there a problem with Guardian?
No, like when the first time we played together, we never had like problems outside of the server. But as I said, sometimes he disliked my attitude and the way how I speak about anything. But back in the days, Eugen was helping us a lot and was teaching me a lot. But second time when he came, no, the first time he actually, there's a funny story, but I don't know if I should say this. I remember we were going on boot camp, and Guardian actually had wedding, and we were already everyone on boot camp, and we got a message from him that he need to practice his dance before wedding.
Okay.
And we were like 4 on boot camp. It was so shocked for us,
As I set it up earlier, you weren't always the AWPer, and sometimes you would let someone else be the AWPer. But after this, especially when Guardian came out of this team, you became not only the AWPer in Navi, you were like the AWPer in the world. Like, this is where all your kills are with the AWPer. If people go back then, they'll see a million highlights. Like, do you view yourself as a sniper? What's the secret to s1mple's type of sniping? Because to me, it's not like AWPing, like the role. Like, dude, you really did use it like a shotgun sometimes. You just super close range, and you would even sometimes you were the entry sometimes on certain sites.
I mean, you just you need to practice some weapon and know all angles and know all positions where enemy can stay, and you need to practice those pre-fires, because there's a lot of times when I just know that he's waiting for me, and I'm doing this move with double scope at the end, crouching and insta clicking the mouse just to pre-fire him, because I feel like my reaction is much better than other players, and especially back in the days. I don't know, I was playing op when I knew that everything is so bad. I remember even Electronic was saying, Sasha, I just want you to play with op. It was some final. Please play with op as much as you can, because he knew that I can do much better damage. But of course, I always play AK when I know that the city don't have op, they have bad economy, and I just don't want to lose round and give them op. Beside AKs that you give to them, when you lose 4th round, you can even give them up, and it's so bad, because when City have 2 or 3 AKs, they can finish rounds on their positions so fast, so quickly, and their economy will grow even more. That's why I like to say that I play AK right now, like on Inferno T side, or even on Mirage T side, and of course I'm giving some ideas how I want us to finish rounds, so we're not gonna lose to force and give them those weapons.
By the way, if anyone's ever seen how s1mple fires the AWP from the beginning, it's actually like the worst technique you could ever tell a beginner. Like if I told someone how to use an AWP, it's like I always used to say also in the analysis desk, go watch Device. He zooms in, he tracks the opponent, and he hits when he knows it's going to be a shot. s1mple just shoots them like that across the screen, just flicks the whole screen over. And it just is the problem though. The reason why I would never tell a fan to do that is they'll miss if they do that. You hit all the time. Like, do you understand that you are actually a unique person? There's not many people can do this.
Yeah, but those shots were practicing for some clutch situations.
Okay.
Where you need to do this, you know. Of course, when you're trying to get just normal entry, I would pick like Device, you know. But if you're going on clutch, for example, right now in Anubis, you're going out from temple, there could be a guy going out from cave or B main, or he can pick you from right side. You just need to have this shot, and you need to be confident that you will hit this shot. And I feel like with confidence, and confidence comes from practice, not from good official games. You even play better with this confidence in official.
Along these lines as well, another thing that I think made you a big fan favorite isn't just that you get kills and you're the best player. It's like you're saying, I always say, I don't think s1mple ever turned down a 1vx situation. Like even if it was like 1v4 and they're all on the site, that's where all your highlights are from. Normal players, especially in the modern day, everyone saves now, especially the AWPer. It's like, we've got to save the gun. What is your style? You always think you can win the round?
No, it's a lot of factors, of course. It depends on information more. Of course, I'm not gonna save like James all the time, even if he understand the economy. And of course, if we have low economy and I just understand my chances. If I know on Mirage that I will go out B and I have info about the guy out catwalk and 2 guys on A, I just know that I need to find this guy as fast as I can to increase my chances. And yeah. And after you get this kill, your plan just immediately, and you just know that it's much easier to win, and you're trying to remove them before they attend the site, you know.
When you were in the Na'Vi squad and Zeus came back to be the in-game leader, I want to ask a bit about Zeus as an in-game leader, because if people don't know, like, as far as I know from knowing a lot of people in the Ukrainian scene, and I was there in 1.6, he is like, as an in-game leader, I would say his archetype is the general. He is the guy where he's going to tell people, you have to do things his way. And if people know every one of his teams, every one Zeus ever had, is that like slow, late, end of the round, you do the push, you mess with the bomb site. That's why he loved Inferno. It's the best map for this if people don't know on T side. Like his style is like that. So even if you're s1mple, you have to do what Zeus says, right?
Yes, of course. I mean, when he get a lot of motivation, he would be so quickly explaining everyone what to do. Like he was sending all the players, and of course, all of them gave some ideas, but at the end, he was deciding the finish of round. But his skill was when he has motivation, and he had it a lot. He was so fired up to win the game, and he was, as I said, explaining everyone in details so quickly.
If people look at his teams, he had Mark Love in 1.6, he had Guardian, and then s1mple in CSGO. It seems like he also, as an in-game leader, has a very good vision of like how the AWP should play.
Yeah, of course, because Mark Love was #1 player, Guardian, unfortunately, #2, and me as well. And I feel like, not like he's proud, but he just understands that he was doing a good job and he was a great IGL.
One of the areas I've always thought was very awkward for you in your career is when you started to have the years where people called you the GOAT, was when these 2 players, Zeus and Edward, who were some of the most legendary players ever in Counter-Strike, like obviously in 1.6 they won everything. If people don't know, I always feel like it's really sad in CSGO. A fan in CSGO, it's like Neo. If they've seen Edward, you don't know Edward. I could show you Edward in 1.6, mate. He was unbelievable. He was like Nico. He was a god. So I always feel like when those players were having a hard time, they were at the end of their skill and they were dropping off a bit and they would have a bad game, people almost thought like, why does s1mple play with them? He should just kick him out the team, like get him out. But it's like, it's pretty hard to kick out like the most legendary players ever, right? I mean, you grew up watching these players, right?
Yes, of course, yeah. And Edward's skill his aim was on huge point. Like, and he practiced a lot. And his lifestyle was perfect, you know. And maybe because of this, because he's wake up at 8, he cannot practice at 9 or 10 p.m. like me. But
Right.
first of all, of course, he's more care about his health, and he's practicing like a lot. Like he's playing aimbots, he's playing DM, and after he's playing pucks. But it's like at 2, at 3 p.m. And I was always saying him, you need to play later, because later there's going to be more decent players that you play against. And at some point he was listening to me, and we won some events in like the Blast one. Or another, after 2018.
Yeah.
Not in 2018, but after, yeah.
All right. When you got Electronic to your team, I always have a way I explain it to fans, which is every fan wants their star player to have like the dream team and have every best player and basically make it easy. But I always say, if you're a great player, that's a ridiculous request. All you ask for if you're a great player is just give me enough help. Give me a chance to win, basically, and we'll do the rest. We'll win the game. When you got Electronic and people could see, like, you know what we call the eye test. Anyone who has eyes and watches Electronic players, especially when he's in Flipside, knows this guy's insane. Like, he's obviously really fucking skilled. When you got this player, did you know, like, now I really have a chance to win tournaments?
At the beginning, not really, because I don't know, there was a cool story. The first one, when I played in Worst Players or A-Gaming, we were trying to get Electronic, one of my ex-teammates, Cyberfocus, and I talked that, where is he from? He's like, he's from Russia. I say, from what city? He say, Kazan. And I'm like, I don't think Kazan has airports. And but they actually did.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, and that's why we couldn't play with him in 2014. And right before Flipside, if you see his stats, it's not that good. And at some point, he could grow up as a player together with Blade in Flipside.
Right.
And after when he came, why I'm saying that I wasn't sure, because I saw your podcast with Kostyljev and this topic when SK invited me and flamie. But so I actually wanted, right after I saw it, I texted you that I want to do this interview, because I just wanted to say that it's not Navi who gave me a better offer. I was talking with my family. At the end, I was talking with my dad, and he said, I personally think you shouldn't leave this organization, because you already played in the United States.
Yes.
The language barrier, and I made my decision that I'm not gonna play. And I remember that SK was telling me, we don't want flamie if you're not gonna join, something like this. And my brother, why I was a bit frustrated about Kostyljev comment, my brother never had any better conditions. He was doing his work in his sphere. He was like host in Navi YouTube channel. He was given resume, and he won with this resume with other player or with other person. That's why he get invited in Navi, first of all. So yeah, and as I said, I just like few days before I wasn't sure if I will go, and flamie already bought tickets. I don't know why he bought tickets, because nobody signed anything.
Sure.
And
if people don't know, flamie's just a bit silly. He's got some silly stories behind the scenes put out there, guys. They're all funny though. They're all funny. By the way, though, back on the Electronic topic, once he got really good, though, like I get the feeling like that must be a teammate you have some good feelings towards. I mean, this is a guy where like you can trust. This is a guy who might turn up in a game and help you win the game and frag out, right?
Yes, of course, because I saw how he understands game, how he was moving, what kind of angles he was choosing, and I instantly understood that this guy on like S level, S plus level. There's not a lot of players like him.
No. I mean, I often describe to people, they should watch some of the old Na'Vi rounds. Dude, sometimes he's the first entry and he still kills everyone with an AK. Like this, normally star player doesn't do that. You let the bait go out and you just trade for them. He would just run out and shoot 2 people in the head, right?
Yes. And he knew where enemy can be. It's like, It's a bit hard to explain. Знание и понимание его игры, они были на таком же уровне, как и у меня. Я это увидел сразу после первого тренировочного дня, потому что так как он двигается и принимает решения, это мы уже не говорим про коммуникацию его, про то, как он общается вне игры и в игре, а то, как он вообще понимает эту игру, у него на уровне самыми топовыми игроками, как Zaivu, like Zaivu, Nico, and other top players, and even right now. And this level was like basically in whole Navi team in 2021. Not like the level of player was always step ahead, like mine and Electronic, I feel, but the way of understanding the game was on same level, even in individual perspective as well, especially perfect, especially in clash situation.
One of the things about the era of this lineup when Electronic first came and there was still Zeus and Edward is, like I say, this narrative that, like, this is, I don't know if you know this, but like normally in sports and even in Counter-Strike before you came along, you're not allowed to be called the GOAT or the best unless you win everything. What they do is it's like how they used to do MVP. You know, MVP was always who won the best team, the winning team gets it. Like, you never get it if you second place. I think you're one of the people who sort of broke this narrative, but this is part of why, because people thought, right, Simple has to drop 40 because the others have a hard time. So it's like he has to do 1.5 times a performance. So this is why I think people called you the GOAT. It wasn't just like a compliment. Like they thought essentially it was almost impossible to win and he was still doing it sometimes or almost doing it. Was this a frustrating period? Like I always bring up this one match. You'll remember it. Star Series against Mouse Sports. Like, dude, I say to this day, I think that might be the best game I've ever seen you play. You've been fragging everyone, even with the Deagle. Yeah, but the problem is, in this game, like, I don't know what more you're supposed to do in this game, mate. Like, every map is dropping 1 million kills. Like, was it frustrating to have a scenario where it doesn't matter what you do, you might lose the game?
Yes, it was, but when you understand how even more frustrated your teammates, for example, right now, when Navi lost to... in CS2, when Navi lost, they lost to Complexity.
Yes.
And if you remember, the 2-on-5 on Nuke. And it was the same. And after the game finished, I saw their faces of Alexi, of Ime, and I felt this pain, you know. And back in the days when we lost the final, I was a bit mad, but after I saw how flamie in tears, how Zeus in tears, how that was so important for them because their family came to watch in this small area, cyber arena. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. They were so frustrated because we lost our game on Mirage, and Zeus had bad game, and flamie could play a bit different in crucial rounds. So yeah, but yeah, it's I mean, what I want to say. It was nice to get MVP, of course. It's always nice, and when you show this level, you're like, you understand that you can play better, that you did some mistakes as well, and you need to fix them. And right next Star Series, we beat them, the Mouse Sports with comeback, and after we beat SK, Mouse, and then final we beat, or no, never mind, it's just, yeah.
It's all good. Right, a question I have is, when you were in the second major final you played in, the FACEIT Major London, and you played against Astralis, right, there's two parts to this. One, I will say, fans aren't very, the word is charitable in English. They're not really kind if they don't like you, because these two first finals are against SK Gaming in 2016 and Astralis in 2018. And if you're not a fan who knows what you're talking about, those are the absolute best teams in the world. Like, almost no one can beat these teams. But it's true, s1mple never had good stats in these matches. Like in the FACEIT London, when you had pretty bad game in general. Like, what would did you have extra pressure on you when you played a final?
First of all, it was Astralis. Like they were winning everyone, and second part is that we didn't practice. There was some problems that I cannot say about, personal problem of one player, and because of that we missed all practice before this tournament. And
right.
I feel there was a Dreamhack in Sweden where North just rolled us.
Yeah.
On train, they just anti-strat, and we couldn't practice at all. And only one week or 2 weeks when we practiced, it was right before FACEIT Major, and I feel it was a big issue as well, because you're playing against Astralis who are like winning everything, and you need to face them without amount of practice and with a huge problem in head of some player, you know. So I feel it was just. I like to say the one who deserves it more, he will win it, because he spent more time to prepare, and it was more important for him at this point, like at this month, at this tournament, than for any other. And but if you're gonna talk about my game, I don't know. Like I feel like it's much harder to get 40 kills against this prime Astralis and win major. Maybe of pressure, maybe of lack of practice, but overall they were just better team.
I want you to explain to me a little bit who flamie is, because I've always felt like he's one of the hardest players as an analyst to explain. Because I always said, and dude, I've even told him this myself. I don't know if he gets it. I always told flamie, you're a guy where like I wish I could control your brain, because when I watch when you're on, your aim's crisp, your movements are good. Like you could be a really good player, but then I always felt like, does he lack confidence or is there something off? Because people know he was the most up and down player maybe ever.
Yeah, I feel like he was bad at understanding game, but he was still trying to practice hard, but nothing was working, and because of this, I think he lost his confidence. I'm saying it before we got beat as sixth player, but when we were in 2016, 17, and 18, he was like insanely good. His aim was always like great. I don't know. He was like Edward with his aim, to be honest. They were so similar to each other. The way how they shoot, the way how they played, and the way how they understood the game.
When I make content, it isn't just me, the mic, and a guest or a topic. It's also me with the support of my whole crew. Who's that, you might ask? The Skrilluminati. That's who. They include Frisky, Matt Pugnaccio-Rakula, Ahmed Hadju, Tosh, Tobias Bernasconi, Jensen Gore, Animosity, Toucan, and you know it if you've heard it before, but if you haven't, a special thanks goes out to my main man, Jerky's Minion. Well, if you want to know upcoming topics and guests I'm going to have on my channel, maybe you want to ask me a question to answer in an AMA in video fashion. Do you want to hear one of those long discussions and actually be part of it and be able to ask me questions? Want to find out who I'm going to interview next? If any of these perks or more appeal to you, put your money where your mouth is. Join the Skrilluminati today via the Patreon link in the description box below.